Woolly Story. Welcome to my cozy little corner of YouTube, where you can unwind and drift off to sleep while listening to some soothing bedtime stories. This is the perfect place for those who want to absorb new vocabulary while listening to bedtime stories before drifting off to sleep. So get comfy, relax, and let me help you drift off into dreamland. In the heart of ancient China, a young girl named Li Mei lived in a small village surrounded by lush green mountains. She was just 9 years old when her father left her and her mother without a word of explanation. Her mother, Mei Ling, was left to raise her daughter alone, and though it was tough, she did so with grace and determination. Mei Ling was a skilled seamstress, and she worked tirelessly every day to provide for her daughter. She taught Li Mei how to sew and embroider, and together, they created beautiful garments that they sold in the market. They were well respected in the village, and everyone admired Mei Ling for her hard work and resilience. But despite her mother's strength, Li Mei couldn't help but feel a sense of helplessness. She missed her father terribly and couldn't understand why he had left them. She felt like a part of her was missing, and no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't shake the feeling of sadness that lingered in her heart. One day, as she was walking through the market, Li Mei stumbled upon a group of men practicing martial arts. They moved with such grace and fluidity, and Li Mei was mesmerized by their skill. She watched them for hours, studying their every move, and she knew that she wanted to learn how to fight like them. But when she went home and told her mother about her newfound passion, Mei Ling was hesitant. "It's not safe for a young girl to learn martial arts," she said. "It's too dangerous." But Li Mei was persistent, and she begged her mother to let her try. Finally, Mei Ling relented, and she found a master in the village who was willing to teach her daughter. Li Mei's training began, and she threw herself into it with all the enthusiasm and determination she could muster. She worked tirelessly every day, practicing her moves and perfecting her technique. She was a natural fighter, and her master saw potential in her that he had never seen before. As the months passed, Li Mei became stronger and more confident. She was no longer the helpless little girl who had missed her father so much. She was independent and capable, and she knew that she could take care of herself. But her newfound strength would be put to the test one fateful day. Li Mei was walking home from the market when she heard a woman's screams coming from a nearby alley. Without hesitation, she rushed to investigate, and what she saw made her blood run cold. A group of bandits had cornered a young woman and were threatening to harm her if she didn't give them all her money. Li Mei knew that she couldn't stand idly by and watch. She drew her sword and charged at the bandits, her heart pounding with fear and adrenaline. The bandits were caught off guard by Li Mei's sudden attack, and she managed to take them by surprise. She fought with all her might, her sword flashing in the sunlight, and she managed to drive them away. The young woman she had saved was grateful beyond words, and she thanked Li Mei for her bravery. But Li Mei knew that she had done what any honorable person would have done in her situation. From that day on, Li Mei was no longer just a talented martial artist. She was a hero, respected and admired by all those who knew her. She had overcome her feelings of helplessness and had become a force to be reckoned with. Years went by, and Li Mei continued to hone her skills, becoming one of the most respected fighters in all of China. She traveled the land, teaching others the art of martial arts and using her skills to protect the innocent. And though she never forgot the pain of her father's abandonment, Li Mei had come to realize that she didn't need him to be strong and independent. She had her mother, her martial arts, and the knowledge that she could stand up for herself and others. That was all she needed to be happy and fulfilled. One day, as she was traveling through a remote mountain pass, Li Mei stumbled upon a group of travelers who were being attacked by a gang of ruthless bandits. She could see the fear in their eyes, and without hesitation, she leaped into action. The bandits were no match for Li Mei's skill and speed, and she took them down one by one, protecting the travelers and sending the bandits fleeing into the wilderness. The travelers were amazed by her bravery, and they thanked her for saving their lives. As they talked, Li Mei learned that they were on their way to a nearby temple, where a renowned martial arts master was said to live. Intrigued, Li Mei decided to join them on their journey. When they arrived at the temple, Li Mei was in awe. The temple was perched high on a mountaintop, overlooking a sea of clouds. The air was crisp and clean, and the scent of incense filled her nostrils. Inside, she met the master, a wise and patient man who had devoted his life to the study of martial arts. He recognized her talent immediately and invited her to stay and train with him. Over the next several months, Li Mei learned more than she ever thought possible about martial arts. The master taught her not only the physical aspects of the art but also the mental and spiritual aspects. She learned how to meditate, how to channel her inner strength, and how to use her mind to overcome her opponents. Under the master's guidance, Li Mei became an even more formidable fighter, and she felt more centered and focused than she ever had before. She knew that she had found her true calling in life. But as much as she loved the temple and her training, Li Mei knew that she could not stay forever. She had a duty to protect the innocent and fight for justice, and she knew that there were still many battles to be fought. So she left the temple and continued her travels, always seeking out new challenges and new opportunities to use her skills for the greater good. And though she faced many dangers and obstacles along the way, she never forgot the lessons she had learned from her mother and her training. Li Mei knew that she was strong, independent, and capable, and she would never let anyone make her feel helpless again. She had come a long way from the little girl who had lost her father, and she knew that her journey was far from over. But with her skills, her courage, and her determination, she was ready for whatever lay ahead. As Li Mei traveled, she encountered all sorts of challenges. She faced bandits, wild animals, and even corrupt officials who exploited the people they were supposed to protect. But with each challenge, she grew stronger and more confident in her abilities. Along the way, Li Mei also made many friends and allies. She met other skilled fighters who shared her passion for justice, and together, they formed a tight-knit community. They shared knowledge and techniques, and they supported each other in their battles against injustice. Li Mei's reputation grew, and soon, people began to seek her out for help. They knew that she was a skilled fighter, but more than that, they knew that she was someone who cared deeply about the welfare of others. One day, Li Mei received a message from her mother. It had been years since they had seen each other, and Li Mei was eager to see her again. She traveled to her mother's village, and as soon as she arrived, she knew that something was wrong. The village was in chaos. Buildings were burning, and people were running in every direction. Li Mei rushed to her mother's house, but it was too late. The house had already been destroyed, and her mother was nowhere to be found. Li Mei was devastated. She had always feared that something like this would happen, and now, her worst fears had been realized. But she knew that she could not give up. She had to find out what had happened and seek justice for her mother. She began to investigate, questioning the villagers and piecing together the events that had led to the attack. She soon learned that the local governor had sent his soldiers to the village, demanding that the people pay exorbitant taxes. When the villagers protested, the soldiers attacked, burning the houses and terrorizing the people. Li Mei knew that she had to act quickly. She gathered her friends and allies, and together, they marched to the governor's palace. The governor was shocked to see them, but he refused to back down. He ordered his soldiers to attack, but Li Mei and her friends were ready. They fought fiercely, using all of their skills and techniques to take down the soldiers. Li Mei was at the forefront, her rage and grief fueling her attacks. She was a whirlwind of fists and feet, and soon, the soldiers were retreating. In the end, Li Mei and her friends emerged victorious. The governor was forced to flee, and the villagers were able to rebuild their homes and their lives. Li Mei avenged her mother and brought justice to the people. But even as she celebrated her victory, Li Mei knew that her journey was not over. There were still many battles to be fought, and many people who needed her help. But with her strength, her skill, and her indomitable spirit, she was ready for whatever lay ahead. And that's it for tonight's story. I hope it made you feel all warm and cozy. Join me again tomorrow for another bedtime story. Good night. Sweet dreams.